Welcome back to Cooking with Bill. We're going to give you a really quick lesson on how to do a standing rib roast. I've posted it on Facebook and a couple of things, but I haven't ever done a video, so I thought I'd do one for you right now. Now what I have is about a 3-bone piece of meat. Now this is what a lot of people consider prime rib once they cut the ribs off, but we want the ribs on these. We're going to take these 3 ribs. You look at how much weight. This is about 8 pounds, and that's important to know because of the first part of this process. Now, stick with me, it really does work. We're going to put oil on the meat, we're going to put seasoning on the meat, we're going to put it in a roasting pan, and we're going to stick it in an oven at 500 degrees for about 20 minutes per 4 pounds. So since we're close to 8 pounds on this, we're going to have it at 500 degrees for 40 minutes. And then I'm going to turn off the oven. And I'm going to leave it. And I'm not going to touch it. And we're going to leave it for about 2.5 to 3 hours. At that point, I'll have probes in the meat as deep as I can have it. And I'm looking for an internal temperature of about 130, 135 degrees. I like medium rare. If it's not there at the time I want to bring it out of the oven, turn your oven on to about 325. Let that meat come up to temperature. Shut off your oven. We're going to take the meat out. We're going to let it rest on the counter for about 20 minutes. And that way all of the juices go back up into all the fiber, into all the meat, so that you have a really, really luscious piece of meat. Otherwise, if you cut it too early, you're going to have blood all over your plate. All the juices are going to spill out of the meat, and you're going to end up with a gray piece of expensive meat. Now, when you're looking at the price of these things, I got this at Costco, and it ran me about $82 for this 3-bone roast. Now, that would sound like a lot of money, and compared to ground chuck it is. But if you're buying steak or if you're buying brisket, some of those, this isn't too bad a deal because you're going to end up eating probably at least 5 to 6 portions off of here, and maybe even more depending on how much you eat. So let's get started. Okay, first thing we're going to do, unwrap it. Now I've had it out on this counter getting it up to room temperature because that's important. You don't want to just pull it out of the refrigerator and stick it in the oven. We're going to put a little bit of oil on it. Doesn't have to be a lot. It's mainly just to have a seasoning be able to stay on. And I use the Montreal steak seasoning like I do for a lot of things. I think it's a good blend. Now again, you want to be fairly liberal because this is 8 pounds of meat. Now one of the things that you'll see is I'm putting it on the bone side as well, because you don't want it just to be on the meat side. Now we do have some fat on the back of this. You could trim that if you want. I'm not going to trim it off unless it was excessive. If you have a decent butcher, or in this case I was just fortunate that Costco had it at a decent cut, I didn't take any of that off. Now some people would prefer to just use kosher salt, put a lot of salt on it first and then they would do their others, but I'm just using this blend. It's a nice blend. We're going to take it and put fat back up top. So your bones are on the bottom. In a roasting pan, okay? That's it. Into the oven. We'll see you in a number of hours. Okay, so 500 degrees. You do 5 minutes per pound. We had about 8 pounds, so that was 40 minutes at 500 degrees. Turn the oven off. Let it rest for about 2.5 hours. If you get it before it's been too long, you could actually just take it out of the oven, let it rest on the counter for about 20 minutes so all the juices get back up into the meat, and cut it. Ours we left a little bit long, so we turned up the oven to about 3.25, let the temperature rise back up, took it out again, let it set on the counter. As you can see, it's a beautiful piece of meat. We're going to now carve this and show you what it looks like. Came out a perfect medium rare, about 125, 130 degrees. If you let it go to about 120, you're at rare, so I like a little bit more done than that. We're going to serve this with a little bit of broccoli and having a wonderful meal. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you do, please like us, subscribe on YouTube, tell your friends, leave us comments, and as again, we'll see you back in the kitchen.